In section 4 of chapter 8, we are now going to slowly just dip our we're going to slowly dip our toes into the pool of graphing complex numbers. Believe it or not, this is actually really, really easy, at least at this stage. Later on, it does get a little more complex. But before I do, I've been kind of throwing around some terminology that I want to be a little bit more precise in, which is I'm going to have to describe what I mean by complex number. So what is a complex number? A complex number is two distinct pieces. You can write a complex number the following way. It is A plus BI. This is a complex number. This is all the complex numbers. It is made up of two parts. The first part, A, is called the real part. And then B, as you might imagine, is called the complex, or the term I hate to use, imaginary. I feel like I'm spelling that imaginary part. So all complex numbers are made up of two parts. The real component, the real part, and the complex component, the complex part. As a little side note, if your A value is equal to 0, then the complex number would just be BI. It would just show up as BI. It might be something like 2i or negative 3i. There's still a real component, it's just that real component is 0. However, if your B value is ever 0, 0 times anything, including the complex value I, is still 0. If B is ever 0, you are not dealing with a complex number because the complex component would 0 out, and you would just be left with the real part, which would then just become a real number. So the B value must be a number other than 0. All right, now that we've gotten that formality out of the way, let's start to graph it. In order to graph complex numbers, we're still going to use the similar format of an XY scale, an XY table. However, there are no X's or Y's in complex numbers, which is why we changed them to having an imaginary axis, which goes up and down, and a real axis, which goes left and right. It still follows by the same kind of organization. To the right is when the numbers are positive. To the left are when the real numbers are negative. Going up represents positive complex parts. Going down represents negative complex parts. So for my example number 1, I have 5 plus 2i. The real component of 5, since it's positive, tells me I'm going to go on the real axis, which is left and right. I'm going to go right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the complex component is 2i, positive 2i. So I'm going to go up, because it's positive, 2 in the complex direction. 1, 2. So it is going to produce a dot, a coordinate. This is the location for my first complex number. Problem number 2, I have 3 minus 7i. So in the real direction, I'm going to go positive 3, so it's right 3. In the complex direction, I'm going to go negative 7, which is down 7. So right 3, down 7. There is my graph for problem number 2. Should be relatively straightforward from here on out. Number 3, I'm going to go left 9 and up 1. Which is right here, because the real component is negative 9, which tells me left 9. The complex component is positive I, which is up 1i. And then finally, problem number 4. The real component is negative 7, so we're going to go left 7. The complex component is negative 4i, so we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the coordinate for problem number 4. Number 5 is where things get a little bit tricky, because before we can graph number 5, we have to simplify it, because we do not like exponents with our complex value I. So I have to simplify the I to the third power and I to the first power. Luckily, we went through a lesson on this. This is just 7 times negative I, because that's what I to the third turns into, plus 3 times negative 1 plus 6I plus 8. Simplify that further. We're going to get negative 7I minus 3 plus 6I plus 8. We take the real terms, which is the negative 3 and the positive 8, and we put those out front. Negative 3 plus 8 is positive 5. And then we take the complex terms, the negative 7I and the positive 6I, combine those together because they're like terms, and you'll get minus 1I, which is just minus I. This is our simplified complex number, which can be graphed by going right 5 and down 1, which is right here. And this is how you graph complex numbers.